Welcome aboard to RPL F2 once again. It is Season 18, round number 2, and we are in Zandvoort for some action around the High Bank track. I'm your commentator, Ryan, and today I am not alone for F2 for the first time, I think, ever since I've been commentating here. I'm joined by a former F2 winner and a former long-known Tier 1 driver, Paulo God. Welcome along.
Hello. Hello, it feels good to be back commentating. I've been a commentator in the past, especially alongside Ryan. It feels good to be back. I've been on a bit of a hiatus from like F1 and stuff for a long while, so it's good to be back.
Absolutely. We don't have much time to go over round 1, but it was Crispy and Mythic who won the feature race and the sprint race. Crispy leading the championship ahead of Ads, Bourbon, Mythic, and Beatnik, your top 5. VAR on the top of the constructors table. Also, another thing to mention before we get underway with qualifying, which get your predictions in chat. It's Trident, the only team that is not available. Obviously, with 2 spectators, you have to leave one team out. It's Trident who's not on there, and MP last season was the team that ended up not being a part of last season, but now they are a part of this season for those who have missed out on the beginning parts of the season. But Francie is the only driver with a qualifying ban, and we are underway for qualifying as well. Blue Goggy is one of the drivers who will be joining us mid-session. He's a little late to a game update, so he should be here in time for the feature race. But underway for qualifying now as we enter Sector 2 at Zandvoort. We've had only Crispy, who's been on pole so far this season, and the start of the season, and obviously the opening round last week at Qatar. While that's the case, the pole sitter has won the last 5 feature races, so it's a good position to be in pole position when it comes time for the feature race. And you can see Bourbon, Ads, Beatnik, the top 3. That is what it's switching back and forth between. Beatnik, we're going on board with him right now as he's entering the final couple of corners. DRS gets enabled a little bit earlier here this year and this time around, but coming to the line, who's it going to be? Bourbon, Ads, potentially Beatnik.
Looking like Ads coming across the line right now, and yeah, it is Bourbon who takes the line. Take pole for the feature race. Obviously, that'll be swapped around for the sprint, but Ads takes P2, Mythic takes P3. Beatnik had a very poor last sector. He was leading heading into the final sector, but now he's dropped down to 4th, FPL 5th, Woisno 6th, Crispy 7th, Titan Ironwolf in 8th, Florian in 9th, and Queen Catch was 10th.
So Bourbon will claim pole position. A 1 win last season, a couple of podiums to his name. He is trying to start the season off even stronger. And same with MP Motorsport, that same exact team that was not on the grid during season 17. Here's your lineup. You have Bourbon Boy on pole. He will start first in the feature race. Behind that, Ads, Mythic, Beatnik, FBL is the top 5. None of the same teams inside the top 5, all split by different teams. And remember, this season for F2, it's a little bit different. There are no academies behind that. You have Wiso, Crispy, Titan, Florian, and Super Liam running out the top 10. Liam making his RPL return is going to start on pole position for the sprint race with Florian alongside. And then outside the top 10, with a qualifying ban is Francie. Valkyrie couldn't get a lap in, and Wavy, who has the conditions of racing, having to have a qualifying ban for the beginning parts of the season until behavior gets better due to previous F2 actions. Those are the clauses to have him race. So, we mentioned standings just a moment ago. Now it's time to mention tricky corners because we don't have much strategy to go over for a sprint race. The tricky corners that I'm looking at become the last 2 corners, the banked area in the final turn, and the lead up to it. And I also want to mention as well, I would say, the banked corner in Sector 1, Turn 2, and the tricky S section when it comes to corners that are tough on this track, whether it be track limits, tough areas to pass, tough areas to get right. It's all what we're going to be looking for today with these drivers.
Absolutely, and obviously I haven't been around the F2 section for a while, but I know most of these names. I'm sure they'll put on an absolute spectacle for us, especially in the sprint race where anything can really happen. 15 laps ahead of Zandvoort. Let's see how it goes.
Absolutely, just waiting on the drivers to figure out setup, figure out everything they need to. Pre-race prep. Now it's time for the prep to be shown. 5 red lights come upon us, and we are away already. You can see Weiser with a little bit of a glitch with the fastest lap, but it's Liam who leads into turn 1, and side by side, that's Florian diving down the inside. He's gonna take the lead already as they stay side by side for second place in this race. It's Liam and Titan who side by side there as they enter the bank corner of turn 3, and a couple cars going up the track trying to find some space, trying to find some time on the other drivers, trying to find a room to pass. FBL, Beatnik, they trade spots. Borbin down the order a couple places. He's the one who's around, so he's going to have to recover that come the feature race. As into Sector 2, it is Florian, who leads Liam, who lost that place at the start, and now FBL and Crispy gaining spots on Titan, who's spinning around. He is careering off into the gravel for a moment, and he's now almost come to a complete stop, and also down the order is FBL. FBL's had a little bit of trouble, and they're all jockeying for position, trying to find themselves out as they just can't stay single file. It is absolutely chaos, and I think we're now seeing a restart from what Titan said.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but everyone
Yes.
crashing. Yeah, there is a restart. There is a restart.
Yes, there is.
I don't know what exactly happened, but we'll have a look.
Weiso's glitch lapped the entire field, we're hearing. That is very weird. I've not seen that bug in this game in a while.
Glitch left the entire field.
Yeah.
Ah, so that's what happened. So Moiso, I think, was like a lap ahead of the entire field. Despite the fact he was spun on lap 2 and everyone was spun on lap 1. I don't know what the hell happened there, but
that's very weird.
Yeah, that is very weird.
This is good though for someone like Blue Goggy, who, again, we mentioned it so many times. He's been very inconsistent. F2 has not scored points in now almost 2 seasons. It'll be 2 seasons fully as of next weekend in Belgium, and he needed to update his game. He needed to figure things out in that area. A little late to the update now. Someone who was going to wait for the feature race, it looked like, could now potentially get in during the sprint race here. So that shall be interesting for Blue Goggy and whether or not he can get in time. We will join off of Titan here to get in. Once he sends the invite, of course. Either way, that was a very interesting start, I'll say the least, regardless of the Weiser stuff. We saw a little bit of a preview of what we could see. You know, you don't want to be in the midfield here. I would say that in general about a lot of leagues or a lot of races in here. You don't want to be in the midfield, but especially at a track like this where everyone gets so bunched up. You saw that at the start, and Liam got put under pressure, and he was overtaken from the lead there.
Yeah, there was a lot of aggression on that first lap, but this will kind of save the people who were taken out, like the likes of Bourbon, like the likes of FBL. They'll put them back in their positions and give them a lifeline, basically.
Just a reset mode for basically, I wouldn't say everybody, but for most drivers, of course. And definitely a reset mode in general, because we are restarting to where qualifying results will need to be remembered, I guess, in that sense. You know, whoever had the screenshot will have to relay it over to Titan, who will be setting the grid, it looks like, or Florian. Excuse me, Florian's the one who will be setting the grid. And Titan has got the results from qualifying, so that is perfect. We will join in once we have more information and have the invite as well. Either way, I want to go over a couple of things that we did not get to mention at the very start there. Last season, you were not here for last season. Now, you might have turned up to 1 or 2 races, but it was Scyther who won the championship. And Searles, at the end of the season, they had a 60-point lead over Prema just to choke it in the last 2 races. In Imola and Abu Dhabi to give it to Prema, winning their 5th title and first since Season 4. A 60-point lead, that's how massive it was. And last season, the competition was incredible. Yes, Scyther had 5 wins, 10 podiums, and Blonde was the only multi-time winner with them there. But we had a total of 12 different drivers winning a race in RPL F2 last season. We had all teams who competed were on the podium, 27 different drivers on the podium, and a record of 40 plus different point scorers last season in F2. It's just absolutely a good way to head into this season for sure in season 18. All right, so try to figure out what the deal is with qualifying results here. And I'm going to ask Titan here about this.
Like, sure, you can just look over the VOD even while the stream is live, right? Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say. They said they don't need him. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so once Florian figures out the lobby and everyone gets in it, we will get an invite. It does not look like we have an invite yet, and most people don't. Yeah, Bourbon, as Bourbon mentions, you can look at it while streaming, so there you go. There's confirmation of that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, as mentioned to you, the last season of F2, in season 17, a lot of competition because of Scyther and Blonde being the two faces of F2, I'll call it. What are your, I guess, thoughts and expectations into this season with two new winners toward the F123 game? Crispy, a brand new winner in RPL as a whole last week. Mythic back on the top step of the podium in RPL as well. 6 different podium sitters and 5 different teams on podium so far in the opening round with the 2 races that were done.
Well, Crispy, I've seen race like a little bit in LDRL, and he was quite fast. I think he will be a top contender for this title. Same with the likes of Ads. I've raced with him a few times. I think he was for right with me back in the day. Same with Corbin. I've raced with a lot, especially in my times when I was racing in Tier 1 consistently. I think he'll be one of those contenders as well. He's always been an underrated character in F2. You know, he's usually an underdog. He's very quick. Besides that, Mythic's definitely gone on the rise. I've raced with him since the very beginning of RPL. He's really come a long way. I think a lot of these guys could definitely compete for the title here this season.
Not even just compete for the title, but if you're not competing for the title, you can compete for so many race victories and genuinely have a chance. That's the good thing about it. A lot of the people who we saw last season, at the very beginning of the season, we thought, maybe they can contend for the title. But then Scyther came in and absolutely, I guess, we'll say, whooped the competition. So the thing I think of is a lot of chance for people to show what they can prove. Liam makes his RPL F2 return. You have Titan, who came onto the podium last season for the first time in a couple of seasons. Valkyrie became the first female driver to win an RPL last season, and that was in F2. She got her first podium in Tier 2 yesterday. Francie wanted a second start in RPL, well, I should say second race weekend to be exact. You know, a lot of these drivers are coming alive. I know Beatnik, he's always been consistent. Beatnik, for him, Beatnik ends up always shining. The last 4 seasons he's finished top 10 in the standings, whether or not he's raced every race or not. So a lot of consistency we see from the drivers, whether or not it comes off with a championship or not, but it at least comes off with race victories, race results, even some podiums, as we saw 27 different drivers last season, which is absolutely incredible, the amount of different drivers we saw last season with the amount that only signed up for this season, in fact, so far.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the whole qualifying situation. Sacred would ruin. Like, I think they should have like 2 separate grids things for the game, but I think they haven't done enough F2 to really like implement a system like that. But I think think if it was in this situation, I think I would just redo qualifying because it'd only make it fair. But, like,
Yeah, and it'd been unfortunate for a lot of the guys too, who had good qualifyings. They really would. Blue Goggy gets his chance to come in, by the way. He is now finally into the lobby, as we previously mentioned. So that brings our total driver count up as well. Another thing as well to mention is if you're tuning in for RPL, make sure you tune in for later today at Tier 1. It's the same track, funny enough, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. So that should be tons of fun. I'll be alongside Titan for round number 13, I think, of the season. Reese holds on to the championship lead, and Scyther trying to come back at it after missing quite a few races in a row. So, a lot at stake for Tier 1. As for F2, we're in the very beginning of the season now, you know? Same with Tier 2, because of that halfway split you have. So, you know, a lot of opportunities to be made at the very start of the season, a lot of things to be proven. A lot can really happen, and we know that. In fact, we have some previous champions on our grid that I want to mention. Bourbon, Griffiths, Beatnik, Scyther. Not all of them are in here, but there's a lot of them that have signed up full-time, Scyther being one of them. We mentioned a deadly lineup with Scyther and Beatnik, but Scyther's not been here to start the season for the first 2 races, so that deadly lineup, it's not effective as we thought it would be so far, and that's starting to show for sure, which could have an effect on later in the season too.
absolutely. Owen's now in the lobby. I think he's trying to, like, see what the story is with qualifying still. Personally, I would say just redo qualifying instead of having the whole mess of creating a custom grid after each session. It'd be a lot faster.
Absolutely.
Gonna see what the story is though. I think, yeah, we are redoing quality. Everyone's running up now, and we will have basically a restart, a full restart of the weekend.
Which I will say, it is really actually unfortunate in my opinion, because we had a really good qualifying session, but with everyone having more track practice in, it could only mean a little bit better maybe. Who knows? And we'll go over the standings one more time for those of you just joining in, and those of you looking forward to the race, which we didn't really deep dive into. We now have a chance to do so. Crispy with a 5-point lead over Ads. Ads took the fastest lap in both races last week, the feature and the sprint. And you can see Owen hopping in a car as well in the last moment. As for the rest of the championship, Bourbon is 6 points back, Mythic 7 points back, Beatnik 7 points back. Your other points finishers from last week would include some drivers running at the top 8, such as Spenny, Titan, and Valk. And for the constructors' sake, High Tech and Campos, the only 2 constructors yet to score points this season. Also, you know what a full restart could mean. A chance at a change in track conditions, whether that be actual rain or that just be cloudy conditions, because I don't think we saw the qualifying have this dark of clouds.
Yeah, it was a lot brighter the first time around, but there could be changes in the weather, which I totally forgot to think about. But obviously we can't see the weather ourselves. It's down to the see what the drivers find out and all that.
They just have mentioned the weather, and it apparently is rain the entire event.
Oh.
Well, if you want to have a chance at dry running, it's your qualifying session now to do that. And Wavy Knife, Francie, serving qualifying bans, that's over and done with. Now the rest of the drivers will duke it out for pole position. And we're going to watch Beatnik again, who was close in the first and second sector, but could not replicate that in the last sector. You can see coming through Zandvoort. We're going to give you a little bit of a track description with this lap. Turn 3 right here. You can take so many lines, and I think the rain is starting to hit.
Yes, it is. Raindrop is coming down. And this will be a test on how the drivers can cope with the interchangeable conditions. Valkyrie seems to be the one coping with it well. He's currently in P1. Beatnik's close by to P2. As we head near the end of Sector 2, we're just going to see how quickly this rain could come down, because Either it takes a few laps of the rain to fully hit, or it comes down straight away. You just never know with this rain, but we'll see now as they come into Sector 3.
Well, as they come to Sector 3, it's Valk who's on top, trying to keep that pole position, and adds Bourbon and Beatnik who follow. Valk lost some time in the start of the final sector and fell down. She had the fastest Sector 2, in fact. And now it looks like it's a race between Ads and Bourbon Boy. And it's also a race between the rain. How much is the rain going to fall down? How does it affect them in the banked final corner, which is very tricky to get underway? Bourbon takes attempt number 2 at it and absolutely smashes the competition again. The first attempt, he was on pole position. The second attempt, he's still on pole position for RPL F2 action at Zandvoort. The restart did not make much of a difference for Bourbon Boy. He is on pole position.
Indeed, but a huge jump for Valkyrie, who didn't even set a time in the first round, but it's now P3. Beatnik gains position. Crispy loses a few positions, I think. Mythic as well, and same with Florian, and also Woizo, I think, gains a position. Bugagi P10, 0-12. Iron also losing a load of positions. FPL P11.
Tons to play for. Tons to play for. Bourbon, Ads, Valk, Beatnik, Crispy, the top 5. Again, different teams there at the top of the table. Then you have Mythic, Florian, Liam, Waiso, and Blue Goggy, your top 10. Blue Goggy and Waiso will start on the front row of the sprint race here. And now it's time to get action underway. And I've just seen that Polo's Xbox has shut itself off. Well, that is never good. We'll get him an invite back, and you could absolutely see it as raining. And it is definitely enough for wet tires, but the question becomes, will it be wet tires the full event or not? We mentioned the tricky corners before the restart. There is a lot of tricky corners now with, my opinion, the rain being underway. There's a lot to play for. And now, we're just waiting on Polo God and our drivers. Here we go. Here comes the action. Full wet. 5 red lights, and they're away. You can see Florian didn't get the best of starts there from 3rd place, and now the VAR is going to take advantage around the outside, but it's Blue Goggy who remains in the lead as they tiptoe into turn 1, and that's a car going wide. I think that was Crispy in the back there in the dams, but as they tiptoe toward turn 3, it is absolutely treacherous out there. They're absolutely going at almost snail's pace as they enter the high bank turn 3, and now they come into the S's. Blue Goggy leading the way over Waiso, then Florian, then Liam, and then they all follow behind as they all try to trade positions. You have Valk and Beatnik side by side. It's absolutely tough to run side by side. Beatnik and FBL at the beginning part of Sector 2. You can see FBL almost going off the road and going into the kitty litter for just a second, but FBL is now outside the points, and there's a collision. FBL is off, and that is also Francie, who won in his 2nd start, also off as well. Mythic also got the spot on Liam as well, and it's going to be a little bit of a battle there for 2nd place in this race, or sorry, 4th place in this race. It is all kicking off at the very opening race. The rain conditions, excuse me, are absolutely making it tough for these drivers, and you're going to continue to see so. Here we go. 2nd place in this race is under heat. You have Florian trying to gain the spot on Waiso, while Blue Goggy also tries to hold the race lead. Blue Goggy has ran more laps in the points rather than not, and not scored a point in the last, I would say, almost 6 months. Then he has scored points from it. And you see Florian down the inside trying to argy-bargy his way past Waiso. He does get the spot, but at what cost? There was contact. Ads and Super Liam now. Liam gonna have to try a different line to get by. It's Ads who's ahead, who took the first 2 fastest laps of the season. And now Mythic has lagged out of the session. He was running 5th place right there, and that's come costly to his race. While we're at it, we're gonna try to get Polo God and Mythic back in here. First is Mythic. Most importantly as a driver. Next is Polo God. Polo God more so for the party's sake. Either way, the lead, 5/10. Florian is setting purple sectors. He is improving his time, finding his pace, and Mythic joins back as Titan gets the upper edge on him as well. Polo God, welcome back. You will have to hit include audio, uninclude it, and then include it again, I believe, for it to come back as you were previously in the party. And Titan is now in a fierce battle with Francie and Wavy Knife in the lower parts of the points. You see Titan trying to get the upper edge. Beatnik also passes Super Liam for the time being, while Titan is hanging around the outside of Francie. Can't get the spot for now. He's going to have to live another day. Also, Beatnik and Super Liam. This is actually a really fierce battle as they head to turn 3. It's Beatnik on the inside, or sorry, around the outside line, and Liam still holding on the inside line a little bit of close quarter racing, and it is Beatnik who gets ahead. And for the lead. Florian on the inside on Blue Goggy. They do touch. Blue Goggy's off. He has to use the runoff, and he's sliding in the process, but it is Florian who's ahead. While there is yellow flags, I can't tell who that's for.
That was random.
Blue Goggy now getting caught out as well. It is absolutely tough spot he's been put in right here. Inside line now. Waiso, he's trying to re-overtake as he's trying to stay in front of. That's his teammate. Here's Blue Goggy inside line. Gonna try the fierce dive bomb. Can he do it? No, it was so close to contact though. Luckily there wasn't. As Valk now waits in the wings in her Charu's car. Can she get the upper edge on both ARTs? As there's yellow flags, that is FBL around. Or excuse me, that's Mythic, excuse me, as he rejoins the session. As it's Bourbon who gets the upper edge now on Crispy.
Yeah, and it's a great battle here for the podium spot. Blue, oh, I just spun around.
Oh no!
Oh my. Teammate controversy ART.
And that absolutely is horrible because, yep, he does retire in the pit lane. That is horrible because he rejoins right in front of Ads and Titan, and that was a treacherous spot. While Blue Goggy re-overtakes Waiso for second place in this race. Blue Goggy hasn't had a podium to his name in RPL F2, let alone hasn't had a points finish in almost 2 seasons. Trying to recover it back now. You see Valkyrie wanting more opportunities. Here she goes down the inside. She gets the move done with ease. That was a send.
Yeah, Valkyrie making heavy gains. She's really doing all these overtakes. That's another great overtake I've seen from her. And now she's just on the back of Blue Goggy. Blue Goggy's being a bit of a roadblock for these guys, but he's keeping it well. He's definitely keeping it, but he needs to pick up the pace a small bit and try to keep that P2.
Well, he can come at this pace and still keep P2 as long as he doesn't get a penalty. And has the leader made a mistake right here? Florian has now been caught out, and he is now under threat with the gap, which was above 3 seconds, is now under 3 seconds and almost still closing. So Florian must have made a mistake right there, and it could come costly. However, they are hungry to get by Blue Goggy. Francie gets a penalty, and now Valkyrie is going around the outside, trying to find the line, trying to find the time, trying to find the space to get by Blue Goggy. Can't do so just yet. Blue Goggy continues to hold second place.
Bit of a slide from Valkyrie, and the Waiso now is trying to get himself back into this podium position that he was in before. Beatnik also in this fight, same with Bourbon. So this is going to be a tasty little battle here between 5 cars for P2.
Absolutely, and you know what? Florian's mistakes, Florian's, I guess, issues and potential issues is absolutely giving these chances, or giving these guys a chance. Here goes Valkyrie on the inside line for the corner. You have Waiso and Beatnik in the background as well, while they all try to duke it out 2 by 2. for what is second place and third place, and then fourth and fifth as Bourbon Boy waits in the wings behind. But it looks like it's Valkyrie who has to back out of that one and contests the place right there. As for behind that, Beatnik and Weiso, the two teammates are trying to battle it out. One's a Red Bull livery car. The other one's the Logan Sargent livery car. As Crispy gets by Wavy, they continue to duke it out for 8th place. And it looks to be Crispy getting the upper edge on Wavy. Wavy, his only win coming back in Season 11 of RPL F2 action. Trying to find some time, trying to find some space on Crispy, who just won his first race last week. And now the battle for 2nd place continues. And potentially, the lead could be at stake soon as well. With Blue Goggy, who's got that gap from 3 seconds to now under 1.5. Very crucial.
Yeah, Florian's really dropping off. He doesn't have damage, but he's trying to take it easy a bit, but that's causing Blue Goggy now to catch up. And adds retires in the pits. Same with there's someone else in the pits as well. That's Francie. But yeah, this is now going to be a 7-car battle for the win pot. It's actually not a 6-car battle actually for the win if Blue Goggy keeps his pace up.
That's Beatnik setting it on his teammate, Weiso. He's trying to get the upper edge on him. Weiso slides out of the corner, and he's going to have the inside line for the next corner. And actually, none of them going to give it up between the two teammates. We've already seen two teammates collide. Don't collide this time, guys. This gets hairy. This gets close. A little bit of pinching into the next corner. As we enter Sector 3, it's Beatnik who stays ahead and will be ahead. As Weiso slide costs him, but he's down the inside. The two teammates did touch right there. And now, Weiso trying to get back ahead. He cannot do so. It's Beatnik who's ahead now of Weiso for 4th place. So Beatnik on the charge. And the question becomes, the rain has stopped in this sprint race. Although it's 15 laps, does anybody head for the pit lane? Francie was the first one to try the hards, and we'll see how it comes into play. But with there being no inter-tire for F2, and the track needing to be dried a little bit longer, of course, we could see hard tires to end this race from the drivers. Could be a strategy game for sure, as now Bourbon on the inside line of Weiso. They do come together for a moment there, as Weiso will have the inside line there at the banked hairpin. He gives him the squeeze. Weiso trying to get the upper edge once again. They touch out of the corner. Bourbon gets put onto the curb, and Bourbon has to back out of that one for now, as Crispy is ahead of Owen, who comes into this race just setting up the last moment. Owen, luckily by that, we'll have a chance for points today, as he is in the last points position.
Yeah, Francie is really struggling on these hards, so I think it's way too early to even consider going on to dries. I think you'd have to wait another 6 laps minimum, I'd say. Maybe 5.
Even if it is 6 laps, that affects the end of this race. And that could become a big factor for guys like Florian, guys like Goggy, anyone else behind that, maybe taking a gamble. Speaking of gambles, Wavy Knife taking a gamble on trying to go on the inside of Owen in the next corner. They do lock wheels there, front to rear, but it is Owen who's ahead for the time being, and he does have damage on his car, so that is exactly what's affecting his performance back at the end of the points. Florian sets the fastest lap again, so the track is obviously improving with it no longer raining, but it just now becomes the quest for how long is it until I can switch my tires, because you can't switch to the inners in F2, and there's not the mandatory pit stop under this sprint race. And especially with it being deemed wet conditions likely too. But the thing is though, is if they do switch tires, who's going to take that gamble and go for it, and who's going to take that gamble and stay out if the time that could be gained is not as big as you would expect it to be?
Yeah, but pit stops in F2 are a lot longer. You have to think about as well. So if it comes in like the last 3 laps, is it really worth pitting? Especially with like someone like Goggy, who has to overtake all those wet runners, and
that's Beatnik on the inside of Valkyrie. The two former teammates at Mercedes from the end of last season in Tier 2 both go head-to-head. Beatnik is ahead of Valkyrie, and Valkyrie chooses not to challenge back, and they look like they ran deep a little bit into the corner, but I think they're all okay. It's just the drivers testing their limits there with the track drying by each lap. And Owen gives Wavy the squeeze. That's Wavy who locked wheels, and you can see how much time he lost from that. That was close to race-ending moves for both of them when it came to the last points position, as now the lead is at 2.4, and Beatnik is now the one who sets the fastest lap.
Yeah, Beatnik's really coming into his own now. I think he can be up there with Florian if he can just get past going in the next few laps. But like I was saying, I forgot what I was on about, but it was down to the pits. They're just way too long. I don't think if I was all these drivers, if DRS gets enabled by like lap 10 or 11, then I would say pit. But if it's like lap 13, I'd say there's no real point, because you just lose too much time in the pit stops in F2. Even if the Zandvoort pit lane isn't the longest, still too much time, I'd say.
FBL's the next one, pitting, and he could be going to the hards. Wavy and Owen are back at it once again, trading spots. It's Wavy on the inside line for this corner. Can he stay ahead? Yes, for now. While we just missed Beatnik trying the inside line there in Blue Goggy. He gets ahead. Blue Goggy now was in a vulnerable spot right there. Is now on the last podium spot, and that's a lap car. That's Francie, who's in the hards, and these leaders can absolutely see this. Losing traction, almost spinning out fully right there in front of the leaders. Remember, he is ghosted, so it's not going to affect them too bigly, but these guys at the front of the field are seeing exactly what the dry tires are doing, so it may not be enough. However, Beatnik looked like he wanted to go to the pit lane there. However, he was just ducking out, just trying to break this slipstream on Blue Goggy, and he does set the fastest lap right there. Beatnik does. So the times are improving. The drivers are improving themselves as Crispy speeds into the pit lane. However, DRS enabled now. So I thought it was going to take a little bit longer, but it looks like this track is continuing to dry. However, with DRS being enabled, usually that's the sign, but is it too early?
I don't know if it's too early. Usually when DRS is enabled, like, it would be a time to pit, but it's a bit interesting with these F2 cars. Usually it takes them a while for these tires to warm up, but like the likes of Crispy, who I think pitted onto a set of wets, which is interesting. I think he made a mistake on that one. Like all these guys in a train, I'd say one of them will probably end up making a gamble, and that person will probably be Owen, because he's 8 seconds in Moiso, and he's going to probably try and gain that time. He's going to lose it.
And Beatnik is gaining on a race leader as he passed Blue Goggy. That's all he needed. Beatnik needed to find the time, needed to find a place to gain, and he's gained actually a couple, and it's set him in prime position. He's actually almost, in fact, in DRS of the race leader, Florian. Now, the drivers make race-changing decisions. Do you go for the pits and risk it? Do you stay out, though, and potentially risk it as well, with it not being dry enough? Here they come to the pit lane. They cannot speed. Florian's in, Beatnik is in, Valk is in, and she hits the wall, and now there's a safety car.
That's because Blue Goggy hit the ball in the entry.
Blue Goggy with a puncture. So that's why Crispy had to pit at least for wet tires if he wanted to stay on them, and everybody coming in. So surely it's going to change to where it will be enough for dry conditions with the safety car being out. While Crispy gets a drive through, there is absolutely a lot of front wing damage, a lot of the carbon fiber heading toward the pit lane. And the only one who's going to stay out from this is Crispy, and he's on the wet tires too.
Yeah, this is completely the wrong call. I think, although I think we'll get a lifetime unless actually no, Florian's coming up to the safety car now, so this is actually really screwed Crispy here, especially since he's also sped. I think he should have pitted. I think
he sped and got a drive through.
Oh.
Another one.
Did he just give it up?
I'm very confused on what's happening to the PSR driver right now, Crispy. I mean, Mythic is on the wet tires. I'm assuming he's not thinking it's enough, and Crispy's been disqualified. Your race winner from last week has just gone from hero to zero, and Zandvoort, the championship leader, in fact, too, not starting off the sprint race the way he'd want it. Now that's down to 12 runners. And Ads, by the way, the one out of the race that we did not mention just a moment ago. He also second in the championship. So obviously with the start of the season, drivers who are high up in the championship, drivers who started off very well, having a lot of trouble to their name. Crispy said in the chat that he was in pause and he got disqualified.
I thought they fixed the F1 games.
Well, they did, but then they grabbed this new update that came out a couple of days ago, and you have equal cars which are no longer equal. You have a couple of glitches which we've seen thus far today. It's absolutely I would say criminal. It's just, you know, you fix one thing or fix a couple things, and then you go a couple steps back. So that's never a good sign. The guys on the soft tires, you have the top 8, Titan, and FBL and Francie who run 11th and 12th on the hards, while Mythic is on the wets. This track is just about completely dry. I mean, the wet tires, if this safety car was not in effect, the wet tires would still be something, and drivers would still need to get off of them. They have some pace to find in them. But now, with how the track is dried for the last couple laps, it's absolutely wide open for everybody. Obviously, Weisse with the penalty for speeding, but in front of that, Blue Goggy now has a chance to take away a podium spot. However, these guys altered their setups to make it help for dry conditions too without the weekend. Valkyrie on the podium spot hasn't won since really the beginning of last season. Beatnik, a previous champion in F2, to start this game off. Beatnik's not had a win in F123 and F2 so far, and Florian, another driver who won yesterday in Tier 2, but does not have a win in F2 so far in this game cycle. Looking to do so as your race leader.
Yeah, I'd say the safety car will probably come in next lap, because obviously there's still people trying to form up like FBL and Titan. So, and Francie is coming out of the pits, but I don't think they'll wait up for him because he's so far behind. He's literally just out of the pit lane now.
And Mythic thinks better of the strategy call. He actually speeds in the pit lane. I mean, with what Crispy did, he went to the pit lane and he pitted to the wet tires, which, in my opinion, if you didn't want to go to dries, that was the smart thing to do because these tires were absolutely toward puncture territory. And if it is raining again like this for the feature race, we'll have to keep that in mind because you are required to do a pit stop if it's deemed dry conditions, but with it being wet conditions, they're probably still going to have to make a pit stop with how much these tires are wearing, Polo.
Yeah, indeed. Like, the soft tires, especially in F2, wear extremely quickly. So maybe the late pits could give a late race advantage for sure, but I guess we'll see. It's going to be very interesting into the race. It's going to be all out racing, like don't off the wall basically.
Absolutely, and we have the safety car coming in at the end of this lap. It absolutely will because you cannot get a 1 lap to go shootout. It is a 2 lap to go shootout. We'll call it overtime because you know what? We don't get much of that in RPL. We don't get much of the 2 lap shootouts, and it's going to be absolutely insane. Basically, everybody toward the front of the field is on the soft tires. Wavy gained 8 spots from the start of this race, started 14th. He's in a chance for a podium. Bourbon, who started P10, going to start on pole for the feature race, has a chance as well. Florian has not really been under that much pressure until now. He's not had anybody in DRS range. Remember, the last 2 laps, DRS will not be enabled, so it is down to the drivers. No battery in play. Fuel stays the same, so these drivers have everything to play for. It's based on your setup, based on pace. Can you do it? Here we go. Waiting now to go is Florian. Here he goes off the final corner, and he is away. Blue Goggy also trying to put Valkyrie under pressure, while Valkyrie tries to put Beatnik under pressure for 2nd place, and this could cost them a chance of the win. Here's around the outside from Beatnik. Can he do it? By the exit of turn 1, they stay wheel to wheel with Valk getting ahead, and now Blue Goggy wants his chance. He's trying to have a look down the inside, while he's got Bourbon right there for comfort as well, and Blue Goggy Goggy trying to go around the outside of Beanick. Now is Bourbon on the inside line. Actually, Bourbon gets the better of him, diving to the inside. And Bourbon is ahead. But Blue Goggy comes back at it. They come together. Blue Goggy's into the wall.
Blue Goggy's off.
And so is Bourbon. Bourbon plummeting down the order. So the two who had a chance for the podium are now done. And Owen running in the back of Blue Goggy. And now Bourbon running in the back of Blue Goggy. And the race lead. The race lead. Florian was under pressure and a little bit of a lag from Florian, but Florian remains in the top spot for now. Blue Goggy, he's done for points pretty much. Yes.
Makes a huge mistake.
That's happened for the second time now. Valkyrie, with a couple of laps remaining, now coming to the final lap, is in the lead. And Florian lags out from a podium place as Titan picks up a penalty. Other drivers have picked up a penalty. It's all coming in.
He was on course to win, but Valkyrie now is in prime position. He just needs to stay ahead of Beanick for one final lap.
Can she do it? Can she win her second race in RPL ever? She got her first podium yesterday in Tier 2, and now is really coming of age here in RPL. Wavy Knife, what a drive right here as well. From 14th on the grid. We've seen podiums so far in the feature race and the sprint race last week from 15th and 16th on the grid. Now it could be 14th as well as Titan gets Florian, who's lagged out of the session and still trying to join back here for the start of the feature race. And Beanick's closing. Beanick's closing that gap. Beanick's trying to find a way past Valkyrie. The two Mercedes Academy drivers, when it comes to Tier 1 and Tier 2, gonna duke it out for this race victory as now Francie is out of this race. But remember, no academies in F2, so a free race from them. No teammates today. So, Beanick now going to try one more charge of this into the final sector. No DRS at all to play for, while Wavy waits in the background as well in third. And now Blue Goggy out of the session. He's had a lot of issues in the last lap, and same with Bourbon. Beanick, can he close in? Oh, it's coming close.
I think it'll be enough.
I don't think it's enough. You're going to need a lot of slipstream and a lot of hope in these last two corners. He does close the gap. Here comes Beanick. Valkyrie made a little bit of a mistake, and now Beanick is on the charge. Valkyrie trying to win her second race in F2 for the second time. Valkyrie in a photo finish is going to win. Valkyrie on the top step of the podium in RPL once again for the second season running. She won her first race last season, and now she goes back-to-back in the 2 seasons that she has won in RPL. She is on the top step of the podium here in Zandvoort with Beanick and Wavy running up the podium. Wow.
Not without chaos, not without a bit of luck, but Valkyrie takes her second win in F2, and I mean, she was always up there for most of the race, and like, obviously I think Florian deserved to win more. You just take what you get. It's always my saying when I've done league race. You take what you get, you take the luck, and you just stamp it on. So Valkyrie takes the win, and the Beatnik and Wavy Knife takes the podium. And I'm being called for my dinner. Right, I will be back in about 2 seconds.
Okay, sounds good. Well, there you go. The female driver back on top. And in fact, a very good sighting. Valkyrie and Beatnik just can't get away from each other on the track. They had this happen in Tier 2, and now they have it happen again. Here you go. Here are your point scores from the sprint race. Look at that. Charouz with another race victory to their name. Carlin, High Tech on the podium. And in fact, looking at this, Beanick's are only podium repeater from the opening round there. Look at this. Look at this. 8th, 7th, and 14th on the grid here. And Owen, who didn't even know he was going to race to the last moment as well, signed up the last moment, is in the top 4. Incredible. We're going to screenshot your results. Blue Goggy, Francie, all those guys just in trouble in the last couple laps. Bourbon Boy as well. Bourbon Boy actually had a really big shot for a top 5 finish. Blue Goggy, excuse me, was on a run for his first points in 2 seasons of RPL F2. And now it's actually dry. Oh my god. But there could be rain coming with those clouds. I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, there could be more rain. If it's raining for the entire event, this could be the opposite of last race.
It could be the opposite, which is crazy to think.
Florian's back
And
in
now
the
they're trying to
session
get an
at
invite
least.
back to Florian. Yes, he does join back, and I think Wavy Knife's the only other one trying to join back the session as well. I'll see if I can get him a quick invite before the start of this race. I don't have him on here. Okay. All right. How about that end to the sprint race? And now with a feature race, a pit stop on hand, potentially. A lot of the drivers as well are used to the track, but not as much in these drag conditions. And now's the chance for redemption for Bourbon Boy. Here we come. 5 red lights. And it's go, go, go. They get off the line quite decently, almost side by side and almost equal. You can see cars in the midfield ducking it out behind the top 6. A little bit of a car covering off one another. And down the inside, Valkyrie sends it on the race lead and could not get it. She's now side by side with Ads for second place. Ads remains in second place, and they're all single file for the top 8 spots. And now Valkyrie turning around the outside of Ads. Bourbon remaining in the lead. And Blue Goggy now trying for redemption. He's side by side as well. He's ahead now of Waiso as Owen gets the upper edge in FBL, and they're all single file up until the last spot in the running order.
Yeah, Valkyrie really getting that confidence in her now. After that.
Oh, Florian!
Florian.
Again! Well, that's not good toward his race. It is. It absolutely is a shame. He had a chance for a win the last time out in the sprint race. Now for the feature race. He started off very poorly, and now Titan gets the upper edge on Francie for 11th place. But as toward the front of the field, Bourbon Boy has absolutely checked out compared to Ads. Almost a second lead already, trying to break out of DRS. And with those cloud cover, I don't think we'll see rain. But with what Valkyrie said, with rain the entire event, that could mean it could come toward the end of the race. And then if it doesn't, they're still required to make a pit stop in this race, as you see Wavy and Liam down the order there as Bourbon leads lap 1. And now Valkyrie on the inside line of Ads, trying to get the upper edge right there for second place in this race. Cannot do so. Valkyrie has to yield for right now. Can you get Wavy Knife back in the game? Oh, I will have to get you back in the game. All right, then. Oops. I don't know what happened there to Polo, but we're going to get Wavy back in. As you can see, Valkyrie trying down the inside. Oh, that gets a little bit hairy right there. Titan as well, I believe, retiring from the session, by the way. And I think the safety car or VSC is out. We're going to get Wavy back in the session. And Titan's not happy with Francie right now. That is exactly the cause of what happened to Titan, and is now a full safety car. Alright, what happened to Polo? Let's get him an invite back in just a moment. Let's get him back in. Either way, safety car yields the race. We missed what happened, whatever it was with Titan and Francie, but Francie, who came into this race with a qualifying ban, facing another incident this time around. Not the start he would have wanted. And it's a bummer because we know Francie has great pace. It's shown in Imola. You just need to give him, I guess, the opportunity to be up front, and it's not his day at all. We'll get Polo an invite back. I know it might take him a little bit, but here we go. So the safety cars yielded things here. So the start of this race. Titan being the driver out of the session. It's gone a mixed way for Searles. Valkyrie winning, and the sprint race and the feature race was Titan so far DNFing. So not the way he would have wanted it. Titan saying he got turned into, and that caused the DNF. Alrighty then. Safety car looks like it's not coming in this time. So I'm gonna quickly go AFK, and I'll be back by the start of the restart. And the safety car is in at the end of this lap. And you can see a little bit more of cloud cover on the track. Alright, we're going to get Polo back in here, but either way, Blue Goggy has now got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Wiso under the safety car as we're about to restart. Alright, here we go. One does Bourbon. He's going now, and he's got Ads in the slipstream. Here comes Ads. Does Ads go for it? A couple drivers selecting to go to the pit lane. Potential damage under the safety car is Beatnik, who's the only one actually going to the pit lane. However, as Ads try to challenge for the race lead, it's actually caused Mythic to go on Crispy, and actually Crispy trying to get the upper edge. Mythic gets shoved out to the curb, and it will be Crispy who's ahead as they follow, and an absolute train behind. They're all trying to duck out for position, trying to find a spot. It's Wiso under threat from Owen. They do touch. They did bang wheels right there, and it's actually Wiso who's ahead for now. However, all in a little bit of a train, and now that's Florian trying to recover his spots that he lost. Now it's on Owen for 9th place, actually 8th place. Side by side, it's Florian getting the upper edge right now, going ahead. And he does stay ahead, actually. And on the wets is Beatnik. I don't think he meant for that. And he's crashed. Yes. Titan in contact with Francie, and now Francie also under threat. How about Valkyrie getting 2nd place from Ads on the board? And Francie and Owen now as well. It just gets hairy with Owen trying to defend from FPL. FPL is around the outside, and Wavy, ooh, Gives him a little bit of a shove right there, but it is... I think FPL is going to stay ahead, and he does. Welcome along to the Combox State. We have three commentators in this party. How about that? Good to have you. I agree. It's good to have you. Good to have you as a third commentator or an analyst, whatever, or pit reporter, whatever you're going to call it. Either way, we've got Owen now and Francie. Side by side here, a little bit of a squeeze. It's going to be Francie on the inside line. Can't get ahead. Has to yield the place. So, Beatnik going to the wet tire actually was a mistake because he's now in the softs.
Well, it's
that was weird.
Rain, so
yes.
Maybe he thought the rain was coming the lap he box and just made an error.
Very true. And maybe when he came in, he was trying to repair damage, but he had it set for the wet tire when it does rain. You know, our we'll call him our pit reporter for this F2 race because he's out of the race. His Mythic makes a move on Crispy now. Titan, did you see any report at the very start of the race of rain? And if so,
oh, he's gone.
What was it looking like? Oh, he is. We've lost connection with him. Either way, Crispy is ahead of Mythic.
I think he's having connection issues.
Yes, he is. Absolutely is. While Crispy does get the spot, he's on the charge now. Crispy is. Perfect for him. Look at where he started. 5th, but he fell down the order at the start. Blue Goggy up 4 spots. 3 spots for Francie and 5 for FPL, I believe. Oh, a little bit of a crash. Blue Goggy's around. While Mythic was looking on Crispy, you saw Blue Goggy in the background spinning, careering off, and now Owen under threat with Francie and a little bit of a banging action, I guess, between them. There was a little bit of contact right there, not a whole lot, but Owen's ahead of Francie, and now Francie is under threat from FBL, who sends one here. Oh, he slides in the process, sends him into the kitty litter, and they both go wide. And now this invites Wavy to go through. And they still touch, they still can't get off one another. They're connected wheels, and as they enter the penultimate corner, that's FBL ahead of Francie, but I don't think without controversy there.
I'm just gonna invite Time back to the party again because...
Yes. There you go. And Francie behind FBL now as well. I believe one of them have damage. I don't know. It looked like one of them did, but nothing too severe if so. And I don't see any damage on either car as Blue Goggy pits for the wet tires. He's the first one to come in for the wet tires.
That should be okay.
There we go. What did you see on the radar when you were still in this race? When it came to wet conditions, how
Looked
badly?
Like, from what I saw, rain looked like it was going to be in the mid section of the race. It's going to be looked like it showed up a little bit earlier than I thought. It showed up in was planned to show up in the midway point of the event, and with the rain coming in, it's most likely some of these guys are going to have to consider getting off of these hard tires and soon getting out to the wets.
Yeah. Question becomes, how early, how late do you do it? How much time you're going to waste by it? We saw a little bit of contact between FBL and Francie. Again, just cannot get off of one another. And now Wavy and Owen, who battled in the sprint race, now gets the upper edge on Owen. And everybody should be coming to the pit lane now. I think that the top 5 have missed the pit lane except for Crispy. Look at how wet the track is. Crispy, in fact, almost hit the pit wall right there, and I think he just nicked it. However, everyone continues to stay out. However, if you look at the last sector is completely wet in the track, heading toward the banking. Crispy heads to the softs.
It definitely caught Owen off guard because he did clock the wall out of the final corner. He's got wing damage on the left side.
Crispy on the softs.
Yeah, that's uncharacteristic in my opinion. I thought he would have gone to the wets, but I guess some of these guys not thinking it's wet enough, and now that's Wavy knifed on the order. Wavy has had something happen to him. He has now lost tons of places, and you can just see how wet the track is getting. It surely is time for the wet tires very soon enough here for the drivers, as Ads is all over Valkyrie now.
He's struggling a lot. He's about to spin again on these wets, so I think maybe the the visuals doesn't really do the track justice. It's actually still throwing up the fact that the highway is still a little bit faster, but.
You know, Blue Goggy's starting to gain time on Liam now, so it should be a signal to the drivers that this is the time to come in.
Yeah,
and Crispy, if he went to the wet tires right there, I actually think he would have won out, but he just hasn't. And here come the leaders. Ads running in the back of Valkyrie. And that was at the entrance to the pit lane. Both of them speed, I believe. Mythic speeds, Florian speeds. A ton of drivers can't get it in under the limit, and same with Owen. Every single driver hitting except for FBL under threat right here of speeding penalties, double stacks potentially, getting held up. There's a ton of things happening. Owen gets held from his teammate Mythic in the pit lane there. Crispy stays out, obviously, again on the soft tires, but if he would have went to the wet tires right here, he would have had a chance for a podium.
Yeah, now he's gonna be basically in brick of wall for like the Mythic, a Florian, and Wiesel. All these guys behind now, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they're gonna navigate, because these wets now are definitely a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
RPL also stayed out.
And it's inside line. That's Ads on Valkyrie. They did touch, but Ads concedes the place due to the touching. And Crispy ahead of Mythic. Mythic trying to get by. We have yellow flags in the first sector. Mythic does go ahead, but he runs deep. And he's going to continue to take the place, actually. It's looking like the track's becoming a lake, and it is becoming a little bit treacherous. The yellow flags, as Florian gets overtaken by Francie, the yellow flags were for Blue Goggy and the ART. And DRS is now disabled, so if you're FBL, you have to come in now. He's getting overtaken for the race lead by Bourbon now as he slides. He's around.
Well, those dry tires are definitely no good, as FBL just went into Tokyo Drift there. And also, slight correction, the yellow flag was actually for Wavy Knife, who spun out exiting turn 4.
There you go. It was a similar position, though, to be fair, to Blue Goggy. Either way, FBL now enters the pit lane. The 5 seconds are really going to come into play, Titan, with Mythic, Valkyrie, Owen, Florian, all having 5 seconds for their troubles when it came to speeding in the pit lane. They just, you know, the drivers, and again, Florian speeds. The drivers could not get used to it in terms of getting it down to the correct limit in the pit lane when the track conditions got worse and when trying to change their tires. What were the wet conditions like for you when you were in the sprint race, and what will these drivers have to deal with now?
Well, given I was using a dry setup, my front tires were pretty dang shredded. I mean, when I wound up pitting, I think it was like lap 8 or lap 9, my left front was already at almost 80%. That's how shredded the tire wear is. And a lot of these guys, they're on dry setups. Because, I mean, you can't do a wet setup because F1.3, you can't do it for some stupid reason. But, I mean, literally, the tire wear is just brutal if you're not careful.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see Valkyrie's speeding penalty, too, as you saw Weisso get by Crispy, who's absolutely struggling on the soft tires. I mean, I'm impressed that he's keeping along with this. He's still staying out, too. He thinks he'd give up a lot of places by pitting now, and I would agree with that. But there's also 8 laps remaining as well, too, in the process. So the Valkyrie speeding penalty, I'm interested to talk about for a moment because, Polo, Valkyrie got shoved into the pit lane by Ads right there, and that 5 second could likely be removed because of that. And it's just a matter of, was Valkyrie also trying to go the speed limit as well? Obviously, her point of view will help. Or was it mostly down to the fact that she was shoved into the pit lane as the 2 PSR drivers trade places, and now Ads gets ahead of Valkyrie too? Polo.
Well, Ads. Oh, the safety car. Okay. Well, if Ads pushed Valkyrie to the pit lane, then like that's just a somewhat removal. But if he was trying to slow down, went a bit too slow, and then got pushed in, then like it's a strange one. But it's I don't know like how the penalty system works, but I think Valkyrie
it
should
is
probably
quite
be given the benefit of
difficult.
the doubt.
It is quite difficult to get a 5-second speeding penalty removed. I mean, if you really can prove that you could get to below the speed limit, but you were forced to speed, then you can. But like I said, it is very difficult, and yeah, it is very difficult, and it is a very rare occurrence in any RPL tier. Just like side note, reason for our safety car, I'm on with him now. It's for Owen. He has no front wing, so I believe he was the reason for our safety car.
All right, and Crispy finally does go to the pit lane after his small stint in the wet conditions, dry tires on a wet track. Owen cuts the pit lane, causing him to get a speeding penalty, and the drivers who stay out from all this, FBL and Wiso. And what I was alluding to with you earlier, Polo, is we saw punctures, specifically when drivers hit the pit lane at the end of that sprint race, from drivers such as Blue Goggy and potentially others, and the tire wear was absolutely dead from the drivers. So the drivers pitting now probably trying to say, hey, look, let's go on new tires. We have a chance to do this. We could risk a puncture if we don't, and we don't want to do that, especially with everyone having newer tires. You don't want to be caught out. And obviously Zandvoort's a tough track, Polo, to pass, but with the F2 cars, it does become a little bit easier, and now with an easier chance for mistakes as well, you don't want to be caught out now, which is kind of where Wiso and FBL could be in a position to have happened to them.
I mean, it's a risk, and it could definitely pay off. It could also end up in absolute tears. But I think Valkyrie boxing and Mythic boxing was the genius play, because it just gets rid of the 5 seconds and kind of removes the controversy. Although Valkyrie is now behind ads, she's still in prime position to fight for that win up against the likes of Bourbon and now Wiso. And Mythic as well. Blue Goggy is on the softs. I have no idea why.
Does he think it's gonna dry up? I mean, Titan, you can probably give a little bit of info on this.
I didn't check to see how far it was gonna be, but I believe it was. I know, like I said, from the start to like the midway point, it was gonna be dry. Then the rain was gonna show up, and I think the rain is sticking around for the rest of the event. So I'm thinking
So
maybe Blue Goggy is maybe he's out of wet tires.
Yeah, that's very much a chance too, and he's off.
Yup. Just see that.
And he re-enters right in front of Beatnik. That was extremely dangerous.
Yeah,
right there.
That was really whack to see.
That will see the steward's office for sure. I don't doubt that one at all.
Well, I mean, I did clip it. I mean, I'm literally the
Even though
lead
he
steward for
ghosted.
F2, so...
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though he ghosted, Beatnik still had to take evasive action right there, and you're, I mean, yes, you run deep into the gravel. Yeah, he's definitely either boxing to retire or boxing to change tires. As for that incident, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously you run deep into the corner, you can't slow down, you go into the gravel, but, you know, you gotta take your line, I guess, carefully when you're into the gravel and coming out of it. You can't just try to speed up and stay ahead when you carried that much speed into there. That's where the stewards might see the harshness of the penalty being quite strict there for Blue Goggy. Another note on some of the drivers here. Bourbon right now, it would be the 6th time in a row, in fact, in the last 6 races, funny enough, that the driver who started on pole would win the feature race, and he's trying to do just that. While that's happening, you have Bourbon being the only previous F2 champion right now inside of the top 10, I believe, in our running order. Yes, the only one in the top 10 in our running order. And
Beatnik would technically count because Liam has been AI the entire race. So
point.
Beatnik would technically be qualified into the top 10.
Well, there you go. So top 5 then for our only champion running up there with Bourbon. As for another thing as well, you know, Waiso is an interesting one as well because I believe last season in F2 he had a podium to his name. I could double check, but if he were to win this, as he's on course to do so, and I could add ads into there as well, who's run really well to start the season so far. I know he had the issue in the sprint race, but he's on course right behind Bourbon, has run a good race. The thing about it is there's been 15 winners so far in F2 action for F123 with 13 now different rounds as of this weekend. So a lot of drivers making their name heard here in RPL F2 as of right now, as a safety car is in this lap. Remember, a lot to play for with. It's a little bit more laps than last time. It's going to be a 5-lap shootout here to the end. There still is a chance for another safety car to happen, but it will definitely take a little bit more. As Polo, I'll let you lead the way here for Waiso ahead of Bourbon. Waiso on the more worn tires compared to Bourbon. Same with FPL, who runs 7th. So we'll see if they're in puncture risk, but we'll see what happens in this restart. Polo, take it away.
Will do. Yeah, Waiso now just trying to warm the tires up, but try not to warm them too much because obviously he will be puncturing, but in the race we will see how he restarts compared to Bourbon. It's a very good restart actually. As Ads is now actually on the back of Bourbon here. Down the inside he goes. He could get him here, and he does, and he almost hits the back of Waiso. He gets the move done, although Bourbon could come back. No. Great move by Ads. Crispy is retired in the pit lane. As heading up the hill now. As trying to edge closer to Waiso now. Waiso loses the back end a slight bit. This might give him small bit of a chance to get him up the hill. They're side by side.
Oh boy!
Oh, we touch!
Bit of contact.
Wow! And now Bourbon
pushing him. Oh
wow!
Close.
4 cars under a blanket for the race lead, all within a matter of 7/10 right here. And all a game of itches. Just an accordion effect right there. Francie gets mythic, and now that there's a train behind that too, and they're all going together. Here's the race lead. Ads touches with Waiso. That's going to affect the race for the lead, surely.
Now she's at P3, but Francie now, out of nowhere.
Oh my god. It's all unfolding. Valkyrie around. And they're all off. It's like Nürburgring 2007 right here in the last sector. They all go in the runoff. Both VARs, Owen and Mythic trading spots. Bourbon and Waiso trading spots as well. There's a little bit of a holdup right there. They're under threat from the cars behind now with all that stack-ups right there. Valkyrie tried sending one that absolutely ended in tears. But now this race for second place is to catch leader of Ads. Can Bourbon Boy do it? Can Waiso charge back at it? Is Waiso going to send one? Waiso thinks about it. He does touch the rear wheel. But now Bourbon has a mirror full of Red Bull livery cars. And that's a slide from Waiso. And also into the gravel.
Oh my god.
That is FBL, who is absolutely off. And it absolutely has costed him damage to his car and damage to his race. Wow.
And is absolutely loving life right now. Amidst the chaos, he's 4 seconds clear.
Absolutely. Valkyrie on the inside of Beatnik now. Up in front of that, Waiso and Francie also duke it out. Francie trying to go for another F2 podium to his name. The first this season it would be. Waiso switching back now. Waiso in the inside line. The Warner tires, you can just see the difference it does because he slides into Francie. He shoves him into the gravel, gives him the squeeze. And now Valkyrie trying to come back at it around the outside. She slid as well. And now Francie, they touch for a moment, but Beatnik also gets ahead. Francie having issues there in the Red Bull livery Prema.
She's just having a bit of some lag spikes, but yeah, that move that Valkyrie did just sent it way deep, a bit out, broke herself, and I mean, if someone clipped it and wound up submitting it, that will probably be looked at by the stewards. But because of all that chaos, I mean, Ads has literally just pulled away with a 4-second lead over Bourbon. And wild fact, I was just checking on him while this chaos was happening. Ads has yet to claim a win in F2.
Well, there you go. Here comes Valkyrie, who has damage, looking on the outside of Weiso, who slid on the banking right there. That banking is absolutely treacherous, and so are these conditions. Although it's basically stopped raining, which was what maybe Blue Goggy was looking for. They're off. That is Beatnik, and it was Francie, and Beatnik somehow keeps it on the road, on the track, but he's got cars around him who he's making contact with. Mythic goes ahead, Owen goes ahead, and now FPL wants to do the same.
It is amazing to see how Beatnik just managed to keep that car in control, even when getting onto the grass, losing it. I mean, at one point when he went loose, I thought he was going to get clubbed by Owen, but Owen kept his composure and managed to navigate around safely, and Beatnik somehow, some way, managed to save his car from annihilation.
Well, Ads has 2 laps remaining now to claim that first win in F2. We'll have to see if he can do so. We saw Florian under pressure in the sprint race, and it caught him out a little bit. He lost a lot of time, but Ads seems to be caving into the pressure quite well so far. The battle now for the podium could potentially go to the steward's office as well. Could potentially have some punctures involved with Weiso. Valkyrie with damage, sends it on the inside, looks for it, punts to pass. Valkyrie moving Weiso out of the way. Valkyrie does get ahead, but Weiso wants to charge back at this. They do touch again into turn 2 as they head to turn 3. It will be Weiso on the inside. They do touch again. More wheel banging involved. Just going to invite Franchi there, and Franchi wanted to have a look, but he couldn't do so on the female Brazilian driver. Oh, the slide!
Despite being on older tires, Weiso is putting up a staunching fight, trying to keep it. Oh, God! Oh! No, it all goes around.
They're all 3 off.
Oh,
Owen to the podium for VAR.
But he has a penalty, so Val Mythic will be taking it.
Yeah, exactly. They had a double podium last week. Now it's between those 2 cars for the podium. Absolutely chaos to end this F2 race. The stewards report will surely be busy.
I think from what I saw, Valkyrie was on the inside of Weiso, and I guess Franchi was thinking, I'll try to go 3 wide. He thought he saw enough space to go for it, and it just wound up ending in all 3 of them getting screwed over.
Yeah, Owen's penalty is a 3-second, obviously, so we'll see what happens there with Mythic and FBL within closing rate. They're not in DRS because there's no DRS in the wet conditions, but they are in closing rate, meaning they have a good chance to take it. Valkyrie as well with Weiso for 7th place, and then currently Blue Goggy with the penalty holds the last points position. You saw as well with the race leaders for a moment, the gap shrunk down to now 3 seconds. It was shrunk down a second, and there's the DRS enabled that Blue Goggy would have been hoping for with the safety car potentially being out longer. That's exactly why he went to the soft tires. The track dried up. It's no longer raining, but these drivers absolutely gave it their all to have a chance. Polo, any comments quickly before we switch to the winner on the... Oh, that's Valkyrie around. Any comments on the collision there at the opening part of Sector 2, quickly?
Whoever's on the inside just decided to make it 3 wide, I think, or it was 3 wide going into that corner. You just don't do that, and I think whoever made it 3 wide will be hanging their heads in shame, I think. But I think we should go on to Ad now, who is taking this win due to a lot of fortune, a lot of collisions up the field, but he's gonna take it.
Here he comes. Ads has never won an F2 race previously. He's going to add his name to that list. Ads, victorious here in Zandvoort. Ads will stand on the top step of the podium for the first time in RPL F2 and becomes the 16th different winner on this game cycle. Behind that, Mythic and FPL. Photo finish to the line. It's going to be FPL with damage over Mythic. How about that coming to the line? Beatnik to Owen, to behind that with Francie and Weiso. A fight to the line, but it is Francie for the position. What a race, what a battle. what amount of chaos have we just seen here in RPL F2 once again?
And there was even more chaos because right at the start of Sector 3, Wiseau and Franchi bashed about, and they both wound up going off into the gravel, which resulted in Blue Gagi to pass them both. But unfortunately, Blue Gagi, who had a penalty on his own, unfortunately could not keep the 7th place position. And Franchi wound up getting ahead, but I think Franchi is not going to keep that 7th if he has quite a bit on him.
Well, he does have quite a bit for the three-wide collision. He has quite a bit for you, from you at the start of the race with contact right there. But there's an interesting spark here that we're seeing in the driver's chat right now. Owen wants that 3-second appealed. Also, not only does he want the 3-second appealed, but Mythic, who just lost the podium on the line, ran out of tire length to where it resulted in a puncture. I was about to say ran out of fuel, but he got a puncture there coming to the line. So that risk of punctures for these drivers is exactly what happened, and it came into effect in the closing laps. Here are your final results. It's going to be Ads, who's going to take over the championship lead now with that race victory. No points to his name in the sprint race, but the feature race helped him a ton. Here are your points runners. And Blue Gagi, by the way, earned his first points finish since 2 seasons ago in RPL F2 in Spain. Fair play to him, finally doing so. But it came with a lot of chaos for sure, no doubt about it. And he could get some more points too, even with the 3-second he had, because there are a lot of drivers who will be under investigation. All right, Titan, enjoy. Polo, last couple of thoughts on that race before we go over anything else.
Chaos.
Thank you for joining us, by the way, Titan.
Not much else to add to that. It was a lot. It was good racing throughout, but there was a lot of collisions. People couldn't really handle the interchangeable conditions. But the people who did got the reward. Congrats to Ads on the win. It's a big win for him. Puts him in the lead of the championship, I believe. So, yeah, hopefully he can continue his run. And congrats to everyone on the podium in both races.
In fact, our podium sitters, funny enough, at least one of them in each race so far, feature and sprint, have come from 10th or lower on the grid. We've had 14th on the grid, we've had 15th on the grid, we've had 16th on the grid, we've had now 11th on the grid from the driver in 3rd place who stole at the line there at the end. And potentially pending any appeals or penalties as well. A lot to focus on in those last couple laps. F2 gets known for one good reason and one bad reason, in my opinion. A good reason being it gives a lot of people opportunity in this tier, which has been shown multiple times before, and it is shown again today. And it's also the tier that ends up having a lot of incidents to go with it. You know, I looked at the end of last season with F2, compared it to the end of the last season in Tier 2, and compared it to the halfway point of Tier 1. And F2 has the most incidents of every tier. It's the highest incident rate, and unfortunately it does show. It is absolutely showing that's the case. So these drivers, when it comes to all being bunched up, they can't keep it together, and I don't think the most of the dry setups for these guys, let alone the wet conditions, help that either.
No, because you just never knew what the weather was going to be each race that went by. So, like, honestly, no matter what setup you went, you're always going to struggle at one point or another. So, that's what made it so interesting for those who was able to handle the imbalance of setups. And the likes of Ads, like the Valkyrie, definitely covered that the best.
Absolutely. And we just missed as well with FBL Mythic. FBL just pulled a Ross Chastain at the very last corner there, trying to get the position. He held it flat out in the banked corner with the wet tires, which were absolutely wearing, and hit the wall, broke his front wing, and passed Mythic on the line as we saw there at the last moment. We missed FBL hitting the wall right there, but that, if you want a podium that badly in F2, I guess that's what you have to do, as FBL just showed us right there. in the driver's chat. Impressive stuff right there. Tier 1 is later today at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. We're also in Zandvoort. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't rain based on what we saw today, but if it does, we're in for a strategic masterclass with action and racing and even just everything in general we've just seen. Even if it involves some of the Swords office, we've seen a good race today. We've seen some chaos. A lot of questionable driving, no doubt about it, but we saw strategy come into play. We saw everything else. Just the amount of stuff that amazed me in today's F2 race. We could see actually transfer over to Tier 1 pending on weather. Full qualifying and a 50% race to come later in the day. 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK. That's when you will join us if you're going to watch that. Polo, I was glad to have you alongside me and glad to have you join us for F2. It was good to have your company. And same with Titan as well, who joined us there as a driver analyst. Very good to have you both as well for F2 to help cover the action for today's race, round number 2 of the season.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It feels good to be back, commentating alongside you. It's been a while. I think it was...
Absolutely.
I don't know when was the last time we commentated together, but it has been...
Yes, and I can go back and name the last time. I'm pretty sure the last time was... it's been over a year. It's been URS Season 2, the finale at Bahrain the last time. And funny enough, that race had some chaos as well as some controversy. This race, I guess you could say for third place or really whatever, had quite the chaos and controversy as well with it. So I guess that's what you expect anytime you have us two in the booth. I would definitely hoping you do join us for some more F2 action in the future for here. You're a previous F2 winner. It was good to have you. Either way, it's now time to switch the plug to Tier 1 now for later today. Make sure you join us then. We mentioned the time already. We mentioned the track, same track. Next week in F2, it is action at Belgium. Action continues there next week. Same time as always. That should be an interesting one. We'll find out how that plays out. However, Ryan and Polo signing off from the F2 commentary box. And we will see you next time for F2 and later today for Tier 1. Have a good evening.